One of the questions I get asked quite often is, what's more important, Rabbi? Our relationship to God or our relationship to each other? As known in Hebrew, mitzvot bein adam makom, our relationship to God, or mitzvot bein adam lechavero, our relationship to each other. And the answer to this question appears in this week's Torah portion, Yitro, and it's a fascinating answer. And the answer actually comes to us not by reading about it or even hearing about it, but visually. And the reason is because in this week's Torah portion, Jethro was the father-in-law of Moses. This Torah portion also happens to be my Bar Mitzvah Parsha that I read when I was 13 years old. My birthday this week. Thank you, I'll take gifts. And the answer comes in the form of the Ten Commandments. We know that God gave the Jewish people, the entire Jewish people, the Ten Commandments at Mount Sinai. They came in the form of 2 blocks. Yeah, I know in the movie and in synagogues around the world, the design is usually like this. But the real design was 2 square blocks that were given, and the Ten Commandments were chiseled into each of these. 5 on one and 5 on the other. And the question is, why weren't they all put on one big block? I mean, God could have found a stone big enough to have put all the Ten Commandments onto. Why was it given on 2 separate blocks? And the rabbis give a fascinating answer. They say the 2 blocks represent 2 different kinds of mitzvot. The first block, 1 through 5, are the mitzvot bein adam lemakom, between us and God. And the second block, 6 through 10, are the mitzvot between us and each other. So they had to be given on 2 separate blocks. Because had they been given on one block, 1 through 10, we might have assumed that the ones on top are more important than the ones on the bottom. But that's not true. Because they were put next to each other, immediately you realize that these 5 are equal to these 5, and yet they're on 2 separate blocks to show that they're different. So it's very simple for a person to say, well, I'll be very good in the mitzvah between me and God. I'll keep Shabbat, I'll keep kosher, I'll believe in God. And I'll forget about how I treat people. That's not okay. But it's also not okay the other way around. We should not be saying, well, I'll be nice to people and kind and good in business, which is a wonderful thing and very important mitzvot, but my mitzvah between me and God will be neglected. That's also not enough. We need to have them sitting side by side in our lives, just like they're represented in the Ten Commandments. Shabbat Shalom.